and it'll be a good time. Oh, wow. That went fast. Folks, we are live. Thanks for tuning into the Vamp Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty, here with special guest Lewis Porter Jr. Hey, Lewis.
Hey, what's going on?
Not too much. And frequent co-host, Mr. Jacob Blackman. How you doing, Jacob?
Ever a pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Here is our contractually obligated intro music. Ladies and gentlemen, that little musical montage you listened to is supposed to instill confidence in you that this is a high production values operation. This is a high quality podcast, only the finest farm to table, ethically sourced geeky conversation for your podcast listening pleasure. Bespoke, no AI content, just gluten free and ready to improve your Saturday night. So let's talk about Lewis Porter Jr. Lewis, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing fine. It's a lovely, what is it, like 80-something degrees here in North Florida. So it's always hot.
How is it hotter?
You only have 80?
Yeah. It's 80, it's 80 degrees in Florida is different than 80 degrees anywhere else because humidity is about 85, 90%.
That's true.
So yeah, like 80 in Texas would be one thing, but 80 here, it's like, oh, I'm sticky all the time.
Yeah, it's up here in the high plains. It's a dry heat, as they say. Well, for our viewers who might not be familiar with you, you've been publishing mainly superhero content for years and years and years. And most recently, you've been doing the Amazing Universe setting for Mutants and Masterminds Third Ed. Yes, I've been enjoying it thoroughly. And let me share some of your art. It looks like you've been kind of ramping up for a big Kickstarter dealing with that setting. So before I go any farther, and I do this a lot, I want to talk about Amazing Universe, but we should stop for a second and give viewers the elevator pitch for what is Amazing Universe before we dive into it.
The easiest pitch that I always use that makes the most sense, it's imagine if Chris Claremont and John Byrne's X-Men run had a baby with George Perez's and Marv Wolfman's New Teen Titans run. So the perfect time of comics that I consider the perfect artwork, the perfect action, and everything is great. And that's kind of what we put in our whole world. It's things that I always thought were silly in a superhero world that never made sense. Like one of my favorite ones, which will cause havoc. I don't understand how Batman works in a world with guys like Superman. If you've got superpowers and you've got Batman, I'm going to break your leg and then beat you with it. Like, what are you going to, how can you stop me? You really can't. So I kind of said, okay, people who have superpowers have superpowers. And people who don't have superpowers, you can be tricky, but you really can't do it. Let's face off. No, that's not going to work. And that's always kind of disturbed me. So I said, okay, let's talk about how technology will work with that. Well, there'll be tons of nanotechnology, and there will be cyborgs, and people get superpowers by all different types of ways. Currently, there are no aliens, but we have an alien thing set up already too. So, and I basically said, okay, in the 21st century, how would you do the Avengers? Well, they'd have to be a military force. They can't be just random people deputized. I was like, that's not going to work, even if you got superpowers. And of course, the government's involved would say, okay, let's put schools together to train these kids. And, we have our traditional military schools, and then we have our liberal arts schools, and then we have like a little bit of mixed of both. So if you've got superpowers, you get registered like anything else. And, if you want to, you can always go to work for the military. You do, I think it's 10-year service, and then you can leave and do something else if you want to. So that's how we kind of worked it that way for superheroes. And some superheroes stay longer because they're military people, and some don't. They also break off usually and go work for a major corporation. And our big corporation, which is the Fantastic Four analogy, is Twilight Inc. And it's a big science fiction corporation, multinational. A lot of people work there, have super abilities, have been to the schools, also have contacts with everybody else in the world. And that makes sense. And businesses kind of have that same connection. Our version of the Daily Bugle / good Lord, what is that? Daily Planet is the Amazing Standard. And it's a big media company, and a lot of the richest people who would just happen to be superheroes, like two of the owners, two of the owners of Twilight Inc. are also owners of the Amazing Standard. One of the people who leads it, I guess I can't tell you too much about her yet. This individual is incredibly powerful. She works from a group called the Mannheim Industries. Mannheim is the corporate bad guys per se, but they're doing all kinds of interesting things. So it's always like everything's on that little line of could be bad, could be good. We're not sure what's going on, and that kind of stuff. And the whole world has our big hidden story is our redacted incident. There was an incident somewhere on the U.S. Canadian border where something happened where one of the large superhero groups, Strike Force 3, was disbanded. Several of the members served time in prison over it. Some people are at large. Some people went to jail. Some people snitched on. It's a pretty horrible thing. So much so it caused some ripples down the line. Actually, some stuff that Mr. Blackman is currently working on are some of the effects of the ripple of that little event.
And you should mention Jacob is doing lots of the art for Amazing Universe.
Yes. And there's some more stuff he doesn't know about yet that they have planned, but we haven't told him yet, so he doesn't know yet about that. But yes, he's done a lot of work. He's got a lot more. I just sent some work off today about our group we're working on, because if you did not know, I love art. And I said, we know what this setting needs? We need killer cyborgs. We need killer cyborgs who are ex-military people. I'm like, yeah, that would work. So we're building a group, and I'm stuck on two names. I'm still debating which name I want to use. It's either going to be the Tin Soldiers or the Toy Soldiers.
I'm thinking of this name, Deathlocks, but I might be taken. I'm not sure about that one.
I might have some issues with that. I mean, that might be, I've heard this group of the mouse, very, very, very hardcore, like the sue a lot. I don't want to end up like Bo, what's his name?
Yeah.
The scandal.
Hey, we should mention the link for your Kickstarter. We got tinyurl.com/LPJ, like Louis Porter Jr. Amazing for Amazing Universe. So tinyurl.com/LPJ Amazing. Get you on the Kickstarter. When are you launching?
Okay, I'll say it here. I haven't said it anywhere yet. And next week we're going to start pushing the date. The date is going to be September 10th.
Okay.
We're going to be starting. So like I said, still got a couple more weeks. So we still have a bunch of stuff we've got to do. We've announced a couple things. Like we said, we got Jay involved, Jay Farber, who's done some great stuff. And Sean Isaacs, funny enough, I wanted to work with Sean since he did artwork with Green Ronin back in the day. And I've always told him, I'm going to do something with you. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to do something. And so this time I did something really crazy. So I decided, hey, why don't I make a list of my favorite artists and just see if I can reach out to them to see if they'll work for me. And my list got to be like 25 people, 25, like 30 people. And on the list, I put like John Byrne and Walt Simonson and Bob Layton and Sean Chen. And I just like everybody I liked art-wise and stuff like that. I just sent them emails. I found their information, sent them emails. And I must admit, the majority of them said no. But they said the nicest no. Walt Simonson is still one of my favorite ones. He's like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But I'm really not doing that much work anymore. And it's that, I just don't have time for that. I'm like, oh, no problem. But Walt Simonson wrote me back. I mean, I was like, that's crazy.
That's awesome. Just hearing from him.
Right. And Bob Layton was like, dude, I'm retired. I'm not drawing anything anymore. I just do this. I'm like, oh, okay, Bob, I get it. No problem. Thanks. No problem. But the weirdest one that I got back, and I haven't announced this yet, but I'll put it on the show and let you guys freak out a little bit. So I wrote to this person and I said, hey, would you be interested in doing some artwork for me? I'm a big fan of your work. I'll send it. I'm a big fan of your work, especially the first cover you did for the first Falcon Limited series. Now, for people who know, the artist for that was Paul Smith. Now, Paul Smith's big claim to fame, everybody knows, is did Storm with the Mohawk. And his run on Avengers. I wish. His run on X-Men was pretty iconic. And that's when I kind of started really getting hardcore into it. And I was like, hey, why don't I reach out to him? And he sent me back. He's like, yeah, I'd love to do it. Sounds really interesting. And I'm like, well. So currently, we're in the process of seeing if we can actually solidify him to doing some artwork. Jay's actually working on a script for him, actually right now. And if Paul likes the script and everything works out well, we'll be adding him to the list of people doing artwork for this.
Now you said script. I got this art up right now. Jay Farber, writer of comics such as Green Lantern, X-Men, Superman, writer of TV shows, Zoo, Ringer, Starcrossed, and Avengers Assemble, creator of Copperhead, Noble Causes, and Dynamo 5. So this is a heavyweight comic writer guy.
Yes.
You're talking about scripts and Paul Smith. Are you doing some comics content in with the game setting, or?
Okay. Yes, we're actually going to be doing one of our rewards, one of our stretch goals is an 8-page comic. I'll tell you, I'll tell you, it's all right. If we reach 15,000, we're going to do an 8-page comic. And I think for every 5,000 after that, for a couple, we're going to keep increasing the amount of content. So the first is 8 pages, then 16, then 24, then 32. So for right now, we've already, Jay already knows, I said Jay's going to be writing the first 2 scripts. He's working the one that for Paul Smith, which I believe is going to be the $20,000 range. And Sean and Jay's one is going to be the $15,000 range. So we've got it all set up. We're like, this is going to work. We're going to do this. And, they've been really great about it. I told them, everything they need to know. I sent them our Welcome to the Amazing Universe Bible. It's got everything you need. And they were very happy with the information. They love the art. They love this stuff. So I'm like, this is great. So, now I'm like, okay, we've got some people that I want. And I'm going to say this nicely. I want also Jim Zub to do it. I interviewed Jim a long time ago. We have a Canadian superhero team called the Dominion. And of course, I want him to write it. And of course, I want Sean to do the art, but they work together on Champions. And I think they work really well together. And I'm like, if we make enough money on this thing, we're going to have them do at least 8 pages of some story with the whole Dominion thing. And it's one of those situations of, I had to do some research about Canadian superheroes to really get the mindset right. Because I came in from a very, very American. I'm very American. And I put a post up for people saying, hey, I need some help. Can some guys help me? I'm just trying to get some information about Canada specifically and some nuance. And everyone who really wrote back to me was really impressive. They gave me a ton of information, stuff I never thought about. And, as somebody said it best, he's like, Americans very much are about the individual overcoming, and there's one, and that's the cool thing. Canadians is more of like, you got to move as a group. The group wins together. And I was like, oh, I never really thought about it like that. I thought you guys would have like very Americanist mindset. And they're like, no, that's not how we really kind of move. And it's like, oh, so we have a character that's very much the superhero of the world, and he's Canadian. He's with a team. So it's like, how do you do the JLA as a team, as a true team, where Superman doesn't outshine everybody? So I'm hoping we can pull this off. I'm hoping Jim Zub will be our guy and we can pull this off. I know he's incredibly busy, but I'm going to do everything I can, even if I have to get rid of my child and sell Lucas to him to do it. I got to do what I got to do. He'll understand.
There's a missed opportunity. If you're going to have a superhero team in Canada, you should call it the JLA.
That hurt me. That's a very the puns.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help that one. I just kind of slipped out.
Well, I'm a big Alpha Flight fan, but I always say the biggest crisis Alpha Flight has, they don't have good villains. If you've got good villains, you can have a good superhero team. And I've always wondered, like, why don't they have good villains? And it's like, I don't think Canada gets a lot of attacks, but why aren't they need more? So I said, okay, let's build this Canadian team. Let's do some. And we turned to America. Yeah, I can't talk about that yet. We just turned the work that Jacob's doing is setting up for something in the future that, when done well, is going to be awesome. Because one of the things we kind of did with our adventures is we're telling stories, and they're comic book stories. Let me not lie to it. Everybody, anytime we do an adventure path that we've done, all the adventures connect to other adventures, and it's like we're telling a story. So the first one we did was our Helix Agenda, which you learned more about Helix, which is our big version of, I'd say, like Hydra or AIM, like that, and you get that development. The next one, we have the United Sentinels of America, and you're going to see what they are. And they're superheroes, and we've been putting art about them up for the last 7 months, and we just got the first adventure came in Another one's still almost in development. I got to sign the other 4, but realistically, that won't be done till end of the year or next year. So I'm not really, but we got the Kickstarter to worry about, and we're kind of just focusing on that kind of stuff. And then after that, we have the other one, Brave New World Order, and that's going to be our one. We're going to go into Canada, we're going to go to England, and we're going to go to China, and expand the world a little bit larger. But you always take it from an American perspective, and then it's now we're adding North America and Canada, and now we're getting the whole world. So you see how things operate differently, and the bad guys are doing something different. I can't say exactly different, but it will be different.
No worries. And if people want to get a little sneak peek, I'm guessing your Patreon, patreon.com/LPJ design.
Yeah,
our place to go a little deeper.
Yeah, everything that I talk about here and stuff I'm not supposed to talk about, but I talk about anyway, is on our Patreon. But I always tell people the best way to start is to grab our Welcome to the Amazing Universe PDF. It's pay what you like. If you want to buy it for free, get it for free. It's 100% free. Go there, download it. It's over 200 pages right now. I'm still working on the newest one, which is bumped up to like 250. So it's the history of the setting, a lot of the groups. You'll see pictures of all the groups. You'll see the criminals. You'll see a lot of criminals. The good guys. You get their background. It's like a quick little just snippet. So you get to at least go, okay, I understand that. If you like that, that's a good place to start. And then from there, there's tons of. We've got 100 books, which I didn't even realize. 100 products available to download that go for the setting. So, you see something cool, start there and go from there.
No, I'm going to just say right out that superhero adventures are one of the most difficult things to come across in the role-playing community.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have put out so many, not only just adventures, but actual adventure paths where you have multiple connected adventures. Huge applause, because that is something I was really wanting to do when I started with Disaster Day way back in 2016, 2017.
Almost 10 years ago.
I know.
Jeez. It's tough. I mean, I got lucky. I'm not going to lie. The first one we did, Helix Agenda turned out very well, and it worked. It shouldn't have, but it worked. Now the funny part is now I'm like still herding cats for the second one, but it's like it's difficult to do that. It's difficult to do adventures. I mean, source books a little bit more. I mean, it can be a little more focused. You can, they're shorter, but adventures. It's one of those things that even when I went out and tell people, hey, I'm looking for adventure writers, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't write adventures. I write source books, but no adventures. You're like, okay, no problem. And, just by doing the research, I realized that people don't write adventures because they are difficult.
And especially for the superhero genre, the balance is much more of a challenge.
Yeah, but I think just getting some of the basic superhero concepts. Because if you don't read comics, it's hard to get the nuances going on. And I always think it's weird when people are like, how don't you read comics? Everybody reads comic books. How did you not read comic books? Like,
What are you, a jock? Oh, you just can't get out there and read comics? Or yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's like everybody read. I mean, I read comics. I started, extremely young like everybody else. And it got to me like crack, so I stuck with it. It was my drug of choice. That's why I couldn't get into drugs. I was doing comics. So, that's what happens. And I just never, I always say to people like, oh no, I never read comics. I didn't understand them. What do you mean? And I'm a kid of the 80s. So, comic books went with the goofy stuff initially, and then all the great, really written stuff came out that time period. So it's like, Watchmen, Legend of the Dark Knight. It's like, it couldn't have been a better time to be a comic book fan. So it's like, I think it's weird when people say they don't read comics. And even today, everything's not exactly what I want. There's still enough material out there that you could read independent, the main two, even some old stuff. It's like there's so much stuff available now. You can't tell me there's nothing to read in comics.
Well, I mean, even if you just go to Kickstarter, which is like the third largest publisher these days, in just terms of number of books, there's so much content out there. And I mean, there's a lot of guys like us who were reading comics in the 80s and 90s and don't always love what happens today. And They're making their money on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And selling direct to the fans. So, hey, before we go any further, I want to mention I made a tiny URL before your Patreon because I am a constant. No, wait, I'm sorry. This is for your introduction. This is for the free Welcome to Amazing Universe. So, tinyurl.com/welcome to amazing. Take you straight to the Drive-Thru RPG page for the free if you want it, or it's pay what you want. So you can throw a few bucks at Lewis, and you can get the crash course in the Amazing Universe. Get your prep for the Kickstarter, which is launching in 3 weeks. So
yeah. Yeah, it was bad when it was 6 weeks. Now it's like 3. Like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm very nervous. I didn't want to do the Kickstarter, but I had to do the Kickstarter. And it's one of those things that it's like, we could have done this. We could have done campaign books separately. We could have developed it over months and delivered it. And I just said, you know what, I want to do something that's pretty amazing. I want us to have the best art possible. I want us to do a comic book. How do you do a superhero and you don't have a comic book in it? I'm still jealous from the guys from Champions who got the Perez cover. It's like, it's been 30, 40 years. And it's like, I'll never get a Perez cover. Never. And you looked at some, they've got Perez covers. They got Butch Jackson Geist who's done a cover. Tom Lyle, God rest his soul, that's covered. But it's like they've done everybody who's become a famous comic person have done covers for role-playing games. So it's like, why are we not doing more stuff? I never understood that. That's the weirdest thing to me.
Have you talked to Jeff D yet?
Yes. Jeff and I had a conversation. Jeff hit me with a number that was a little bit higher than I thought was reasonable. Yeah. I mean, look, we are a small company. We've got to make good economic choices.
Yeah.
And look, I totally get it. I get it. Another person I keep saying, like, maybe I should write to him, but I'm still on the fence, Bill Willingham. It's like, well, he's done a lot of, he knows comics and he knows RPGs. And it's like, oh, maybe. And I keep saying, like, why don't you just write the guy? Just write him. What's the worst that can happen? So I'm still stuck in that little phase of what am I going to do? And I do this a lot, and it drives me crazy until I just decide to go, oh, screw it, just do it. What's the worst that can happen? And that's usually what happens.
Well, if you talk to Bill, he still owes me $2. You could hit him up for that while you're talking. That'd be great.
$2? You're just $2? That's all it is? $2? No,
$2. We were at Baltimore, Comic Con. He wanted a soda. He didn't have any. I was like, I got you, Bill. And then, I'm like, 10 years, man. I need some interest on that. There's some VIG. It's been. I'm sorry. I keep making bad jokes. Forgive me. It's what I do. So hey, I'm looking forward to this. Sounds like, Sean Isaacs does amazing work. For anyone who didn't see the slide we were showing, Sean Isaacs has had a massive career in comics, and right now,
his work is so good. I envy him.
He has done well. Here we go. Champions, Fantastic Four. Thunderbolts was great. Also, Mutants and Masterminds, co-creator of Stray, which was a pretty great independent if you get a chance. And most recently, and he might even still be, he's the guy on Green Arrow, and he's frequently. Go ahead.
He just got off of Green Arrow. He's got something new.
Okay.
So like, oh, thank God! It's like, so I can actually grab you now. This will be perfect.
Sean's a good guy. We've had him on a half dozen times over the years, and usually we get him when it's like midnight in South Africa, and the dude is always working. Whenever we have him on,
that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
No, it's there's worse habits to have, for real.
True.
No.
And like he's also doing. Look, you're drawing comics. That's a kind of nice gig. Even that's when it's horrible, it's still pretty nice.
Yeah, you're not. There's a lot worse jobs. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, this is. I'm looking forward to this. I'm trying to think what else we should ask about your Kickstarter. So we're launching September 10th.
Well, I'll tell you, we're doing we have, well, I guess we have 2 parts of it. So we're doing a pre-Kickstarter setup rewards. And if you sign up, just sign up for our thing that you want to do it. We're going to be releasing all new artwork for, if we get them all, every 25 people, we release a new person we're doing. So we're going to, right now we have 2 people from Strike Force 1, our main 2 big guys, Gamma and Epsilon. Their Gamma is basically think Green Lantern. Green Lantern is really what he is. Let's not kid anybody. He's Green Lantern because I love Green Lantern. It's one of the coolest things going. No power ring, but all the same kind of powers. I've always done that. The Green Lantern with Superman strength and invulnerability. There you go.
This guy right
Epsilon, yes, and Epsilon. Oh, actually, no. We're doing Delta first. Delta is okay. So the funny part is Delta is actually named after a very good friend of mine from childhood. Her yes, her name is actually Delta, and so every time I see her, it's like, oh, that's right, that person. She is a matter manipulator. She specializes in metal, glass, rubber, and plastic. Because I never understood why Magneto only got magnets. I'm like, that's kind of cool. You can do some cool stuff. But if you control those four, like I said, you can make power armor.
Mm-hmm.
So tons of power armor. So she likes making power armor. And at her higher levels, I'm actually in the process of developing how her power armor is going to look. Let's just say it's got a lot of manga influence. It's going to be cool. I can't actually wait to see Lewis, the other Lewis, my artist, work on it and develop it. He's got a plan and I got a plan. It's like, this is going to be awesome. So it's always fun. It's always fun to do that kind of stuff. So yes. And this is our 150 award, 129, 20, 28, 29. See, my glasses don't work as well.
Yeah, we're 100. I just followed, so I think you're 128, you're 129 right now. So
yeah. So we get to 150. We're going to unlock her, do all new stats. We're going to do Lord. We got the first two. I did do beta. I did beta. Beta and Gamma are twins.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you look at them, one is black and one is white. That is right. That's how we did that. Yes, they're twin brothers. How is that possible? A childhood friend of mine who has Jamaican parents, and they are as dark as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Their daughter looks white. I mean, if you didn't know, you're like, oh, of course she's white. No, she's actually black. She just looks really white. And it's one of those things that was like, I have tons of my family of twins in my family, so I even think about twins. I love doing twins on stuff. I think it's interesting. And I said, this would be interesting. We have two brothers. One is black, one is white. What kind of existence they have? And the older brother, Beta, is the Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, energy manipulator. Any kind of energy he wants, he can do that. Incredibly powerful, also incredibly strong. So they have that kind of like, one does energy, Beta, and Gamma does force. So you can both sides of the same coin.
Okay.
But Beta's in charge. Beta is very much in charge. He's the responsible, good, but he's also got to deal with all the secrets and the political stuff. That's what he's good at. His brother Gamma is, I'm going to punch you in your face, and that's how we're going to handle things. And I'm going to do what I want to, because Beta is the leader of the group, while Gamma is the executive officer, the XO. And, he handles, he's the one who goes out in the field and does a lot of the action. Also, with Delta, who's another friend of theirs, Delta has a sister who works with Twilight Inc., which is our Fantastic Four, or Challenge of the Unknown. Her sister has what I would say is a goofy power, but I think when done well, it's smart. She speaks languages. She's an interpreter. So any kind of language, think Doug Ramsey, Cypher from X-Men. The part that I never got, I don't get what people don't get this part. If you're great at languages, wouldn't you be great at like casting magic and stuff like that? Because magic is just information being. So I said, let's develop that kind of thing. And because her sister Delta has all kinds of cool powers, she has Ava has a ring. No, we need a buckle for her belt that basically works like Brainiac 5's force field. So she has she's a smart girl, but no physical powers. She's also the lawyer or chief counsel of Twilight Inc. So her powers are very passive, but very, very smart. She deals with, she's got a great legal mind, and that's that kind of aspect. Because I didn't want just everybody have a great superpower and everyone's power. It's like, no, let's get other powers that people you don't always see. So, and across the world, everybody's connected in some kind of weird way. There's some kind of weird connection between this person and that person. Like, for example, our first superhero, his name is Victory. He's the big, I'd say the golden age hero, but in the 60s and 70s. He has a daughter that's on Strike Force 1 who goes by Sigma. He also has a son, Maxwell Cross, And while the daughter has superpowers, Maxwell doesn't. And Maxwell has a horrible relationship with his father because his father left when he was a young child and went with Sigma's mom, and they had her and that whole thing. So they're half siblings. And the half siblings, well, he hates both of them. But he feels like, you're part of my family, but you're not really part of my family. And the phrase we always said that works well for him is that it goes, if superheroes and superpowers are in my blood, I'll get a full transfusion. Because he doesn't want anything to do with that. So he hunts down superpowered individuals in the setting for the government. So you've got this guy whose father is the beloved superhero, and his son, all he does is hunt down superheroes. And he doesn't have any powers, kind of, sort of, wink, wink. But I got a brain. I can outthink him, and things happen. So
He's got that Batman element, as long as he has prep time.
Well, there's another way to trick people. There's a character by the name of Obregon Kane from CrossGen that I've always been fascinated with. He had no powers in a book that everyone else had powers, but the guy was crafty, and he proves and he was one of the few guys he didn't need superpowers to be smart. If you're crafty, you trick people well enough, and you can be pretty impressive. And I've always liked that attitude. And there's a scene where he's with the big, powerful, what is her name? I can't remember it now. And she's like, with your special intelligence, you must have been a general. He's like, no, I was only a captain. She's like, a captain? That's a low position. He's like, generals go to parades to look pretty. Captains save people and go out there and actually do the work. And I was like, that's the right attitude. That's what it should be. So, and I kind of got him on that kind of mindset. So that's how we developed him. And, there's all kinds of stuff like that in the setting. We try to make everything connected is the best way to say, but more about everything should be interesting. And, something else we did, the superheroes usually I'm going to use the word costumes. We have uniforms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, notice all your guys on Task Force 1 had very similar outfits.
Yeah, because as they should. Because
it's a pretty big theme in Amazing Universe that almost every team I've seen have matching uniforms.
Right, and all the villains don't. The villains wear regular clothing because, let's be honest, how many people are going to put on a costume to go rob a bank? I mean, a couple might, but not most people. It's like, dude, I'm not going to do all that. It's like, why would I? The Absorbing Man is the prime example of that. What is his costume? I got a t-shirt and some pants. I'm going to go do some stuff. That's all you need. And it's like, that makes sense. Because you're going to rip it up. It's going to get ripped up. So it's like, why would I wear a funky? It's like, come on, dude, don't wear a silly costume. I'm ready to go. Let's go fight. And we have a character like that very much has that same look. He wears a wife beater and camo pants and boots. Do you need anything else more as a villain? No, just go and be villain. So there's that. And then I think the biggest thing that we decided was when we did our villains, I like the idea of villains, but my favorite villains of all time will always be the Masters of Evil. And I think the Masters of Evil, when they attacked the Avengers during that run by Roger Stern, there were 23 members of them. And I was like, because most superhero teams are 5 and 7 and maybe 9. But 23 villains is a lot of villains. So I said, okay, let's do 15 villains that work as a group, that actually work as an actual team, and actually do the right thing. Not the petty squabbling and that BS. They actually do we're going to be smart and do the stuff we need to do, and people will be terrified of us, as they should. So I've always gone from that perspective on that's how the villain should be terrifying, but not hokey per se. If you're going to be a super villain, I mean, you want to do super things.
I got a stupid question for you.
Sure.
So we have the heroes are in organized units. If we're talking about organized criminals, well, the first thing that comes to mind is, the mafia. Does the mafia field any kind of superhero force in the Amazing Universe?
We have a organization called the Concrete Dragons. There are teen level gangsters. Mm-hmm. They have a superpowered arm, and then they have a non-superpowered arm. Mm-hmm. The non-superpowered arm are basically called the Bold Urban Killers. Mm-hmm. And they're like the regular, the mooks, basically the mooks, 100%. While the actual Concrete Dragons themselves are the superpowered group that's the hierarchy. While the leader is the Kingpin, 100% young Kingpin, no powers, Rex Ronan is dangerous because he's the leader. Doesn't have any powers, but still dangerous. Has all the influence. Very terrifying. His little group of his super guys, very dangerous. They appear in Games Without Frontier. If you saw the picture of Rebel, it's our tattooed girl. Mr. Blackman was kind enough to do the artwork for us, where she's punching a Helix. Is it a Helix Enforcer?
It's a big Helix robot powered armor.
That's right. And she's doing so that issue, say issue, not adventure. That issue, we introduce her and Onyx, and Onyx is our version of Spider-Man, basically. And they have to fight the Concrete Dragon. So it's a very, very, there are mobsters, but there are mobsters everywhere. So yeah, we've got it. If you can think of it in comics, we probably have it somewhere.
What's playtesting been like?
People hitting each other. Telling them you can't kill people. The heroes don't get to kill. Oh, that's right. I should have told you this. So there's a phrase I've gone with for the Amazing Universe that kind of defines everything. And it's like, we're not superheroes. We're soldiers. We're not superheroes. We're scientists and engineers. We're not superheroes. We're freelancers and mercenaries. So that's the mindset. It's like I get the idea of superheroes, but I really hate the idea of costumes. Spider-Man needs a costume because that makes sense. But I find it hard to believe in the modern world you'd waste time designing a really gaudy looking costume. Like Wolverine's yellow and blue costume never made sense to me. It's like he's a ninja. He knows how to sneak in. Why would you put a big siren on you that says red, orange? Yellow and blue. Can't see me in the dark, dude. What? Like Robin. Why does Robin have a red, yellow, green costume? Stick out like
I know the answer to that. In fact,
well, we all know because Robin is the decoy.
Well, it's supposed to be patterned off his circus outfit.
You know what? I don't care. That is not believable. There is no way in the world some kid is going to be running around that many bright colors when you got to sneak around in the rafters.
Yeah.
Now,
hey there, expendable orphan. I will stay in the shadows wearing dark clothes. You, dressed in yellow, right in front of the criminals.
Right. And it's like, look, okay, I like that Davian, you have a black coat. You can cover. That makes little sense. At least they're moving the right. It's like, dude, wear subdued colors. Wear subdued colors. Or get everybody in a uniform. Get everybody a standard uniform. Why are you not in a standard uniform? You should be in a standard uniform. It makes it easy for everybody. You'll know who's on your team. Oh, he's got the same uniform as me. He must be a team member, even if I don't know him.
Just that possibility of friendly fire for one thing, yeah.
But comics they want to put you in the costumes and be all flashy. But I've always been like, let's just be smart about the costumes. Let's not make ugly costumes.
That makes sense. It's a conceit of the genre you have to buy into or you don't. It's like the Lucha Libre mask. You're either into it or you're not. So, yeah.
But if you're into it, that's good. Hey, what's wrong with a little bit of just common sense in comics? Look, they've been around for so long. Some of the tropes are kind of old and goofy. And I got to give Marvel Cinematic Universe a lot of credit by saying, we're not going to do secret identities. That's a waste of time. I get that. I get that. Now, that being said, I think some people would still have a secret identity. Because, if you are Spider-Man, I don't care about everybody. There are people who go after your aunt, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So there always will be some people who are on, I'm wearing a costume to keep other people safe, not me. And I'm okay with that. But, even Cap in his costume, I've always been like, I get it, but yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, sir. One more time, tinyurl.com/LPJ Amazing. Check out his Kickstarter. Launches in 3 weeks. This is a great time to jump on the bandwagon. And if you want to find out what it's all about, there's patreon.com/LPJ Design to check out what he's got there. Or tinyurl.com/welcome to amazing. You can go and check out the pay what you want introduction to the setting on drive-thru. Get deep on all the lore before things launch and be ready to hit the ground running. Lewis, any last thoughts or anything else you want to mention?
Let me see. What would be important to mention? Please support this Kickstarter. It's very, very important because I've got to make these books, and it's a lot of work. And we got to pay our guys reasonable because we won't be using any AI art. Other people want to use that. That's on them. I don't do that. That's not for me. I like artists. So there you go. That's just my personal choice. Also, I hope everybody enjoys it. Oh, a little bragging moment too. It's good to know that we're selling so well that we are the top 6 books. 5 of them belong to LPJ Design for Mutant Mastermind 3rd Edition. So for those people who say, I can't find any good adventures, we have those. Well, I wish they had some more source books in print. We have those. I wish they had some smaller stuff I could buy. We have those. So please, do us the favor. $2.29 can get you the good majority of our stuff. So pick one thing up, $2, you won't feel bad. And if it sucks, come tell me. I'll either make it good some way, or I'll find some way to say, hey, I'm sorry, and apologize in person. I'll do what I have to do. But for $2, it's not a bad deal.
For all your Mutants and Masterminds needs, check out LPJ Design. He's got you covered. Jacob, you've been a little quiet, sir. Any closing thoughts, questions, things that we should brought up that we didn't?
Well, honestly, I've been waiting to talk about something that Lewis was mentioning back years ago when he was doing a lot of talk about his early Mutants Mastermind stuff, because he's been doing this for a long time. Lewis was talking about how he really wants to get together with other people who are making Mutants Masterminds settings, and like maybe one day having like this big dimensional crossover event. And I'm totally down with that. I would love to bring Superpowered Legends and Amazing Universe together. And hey, look, we have the creator of Stark City over here.
I mean, I'm telling you, that's something I've always wanted to do, because look, let's be honest. We're not the biggest publishers. We're small guys. The big guys will always have more money and more stuff like that, but we can still do cool stuff. And Crisis on Infinite Earths, we all know, is the greatest thing ever. But that doesn't mean we can't do something like that between actual companies. But it's fun for one company to do it, but it's kind of cool if everybody got involved and really did it. And I would say it's not that difficult. I'm lying. But
it's incredibly difficult.
Of course, but it's not that difficult. Come on, it's like herding cats. It'll be easy, no problem. 2 seconds, just like that. But I always say that's one thing I wanted to do, and even out of that, I said an organized play makes the most sense.
Yeah,
that's something I always talk about it. I always promote it. I don't know if it ever will happen, but if anyone's ever interested, let me know, because I'm always willing to talk about it.
It's one of the biggest things we're missing in the superhero RPG space in general, is a well-maintained, organized play operation. We just don't have it. So
the thing is, I am honestly surprised that with the popularity of the Marvel movies at the height they've been in for the last decade plus, why aren't superhero RPGs selling bigger?
The HO modeling scale is very popular for people who like trains. RPGs are very popular for people who like elves and dwarves and swords. I'm not saying it's an absolute, because I love superhero RPGs, but it's a niche within a niche, and you gotta try to be optimistic and do the best we can with it.
But I always think it's funny that so many people are like, "Oh, I don't like superheroes, but I like elves." It's like, dude, it's the same thing. Just call it by a different name. Magic, superpowers, it's all the same thing. Come on. We all know. Just like, where does the power come from? Oh, it comes from this magic stone. What's a magic computer now? Ta-da! What's the real difference? Exactly. A lot of people, they get tied up into that part, and I'm just like, just tell a good story. Focus on a good story. Tell a good story. Make it fun for everybody. Comic, fantasy, it doesn't matter. It's just cool.
Yeah, and God knows there've been enough crossovers between the two genres, even in the comics. So yeah. That might be, if we're gonna, if we're doing a big crossover, do a cross genre thing where there's some fantasy elements and some superhero elements and some sci-fi stuff.
And that's the great thing about superhero comics. If they encompass all of that. You want dinosaurs? We got dinosaurs. We have dinosaurs with lasers on their freaking heads who cast spells.
It's GURPS by another name. That's really comic stuff. It's like, hey, what can we put together? This and this. Oh, this sounds great. How about some riffs? Oh, this talk. It's like, that's all we're doing is mishmashing what we think is cool. Let's play it.
If we did it ahead of time, do a holiday theme thing, maybe for Halloween. say that the borders between the universes are thinner on, you know, Sam Hain or whatever. And I don't know.
All you got to do is find a good writer. Just got to find one guy who likes to write. Put him in a room, lock him in there, and have him write an adventure. Just write a simple adventure where you can make little stuff that crossovers here. But characters are iconic. They're archetypes. This archetype does this, and then you have people pick where they want their guys to go, and then you're good. You're good. Everybody's like, this is the best thing ever. It's that simple. But finding someone to write that is a different story.
Yeah. Well, hey, once again, folks, check out Lewis's Kickstarter. He's launching in 3 weeks. Good time to click the follow button so you'll hear when it comes, it pops off. Lewis, always a pleasure having you on, sir. Thank you so much for making time for us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I always appreciate it.
And we were going to talk comics, but we never got around to it. So we should make a follow-up appointment so we can talk crazy stuff.
We can talk comics anytime. Well, come to the show. We will talk.
Comics are comics. Comics are good.
Yeah. All right, guys. And on a happy note, we will call it a show. Thanks again for checking us out. And we will see you next time on the Vamp Podcast.